No Credits Roll.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 22 of No Credits Rolled. My name is Sam Whalen. It's been a minute, for you listening anyway. Fun fact, I actually did an episode 22 already. It was like a 49-minute long episode. I was very proud of it. But then everything broke and I have yet to be able to recover that episode. So all you diehard No Credits Roll fans out there can file that under the lost media category for this show. So instead, we're just gonna do it a different episode. All right, I decided to come back and we have a big announcement in the gaming world that I just couldn't stay away and cover. But yeah, I'm still playing a lot of the games I reviewed in that episode, so I can still talk about them. So we're gonna hit two of them again. Those games are going to be Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. I also talked about Avowed on that episode and the closing of Monolith Studios, but I guess you guys will just have to speculate on my thoughts. But yeah, I decided to dust off the mic because it is a special time of year, everybody. It is console release time here in our reality. I'm not sure why I phrased it that way, but it's a big deal. Because the Nintendo Switch 2 was announced, and we're going to cover all the details on today's episode. Before we get started, I, of course, want to remind everyone to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. It does help us out. If you can give us a rating, anything like that, whatever all the other people you subscribe to on the internet say, go do all that stuff. We're also on TikTok and YouTube, even though I haven't posted on TikTok in, I don't know, forever. I still get likes over there sometimes, so I get little emails about that. And likes from people that aren't just my friends, so that says something. But yeah, go check out the show there as well. But enough of my jibber-jabbering. Let's get into the program. And let's kick it off with the Nintendo Switch 2.
Kept you waiting, huh?
So, yeah, there was a Direct. This was last week, the Nintendo Direct, revealing all of the much-anticipated details of the Nintendo Switch 2. They didn't call it the Super Switch, which they probably were never going to do that, but that would have been... I would have liked that. But there were all kinds of announcements, and honestly, like, this Direct really blew me away. I always go into these things, specifically Nintendo presentations, with pretty low expectations, because I don't have much of a horse in this race. Like, I like Nintendo games, but I'm not like the Nintendo guy, you know. I much more gravitate towards Xbox and PlayStation. So everything I'm pulling here in this section of the show is from a wonderful write-up by Adam Bankhurst over at IGN. He did a super detailed write-up that's still being updated as we get more info about the Switch in the weeks following the Direct. But top-level stuff here. The Nintendo Switch 2 is going to release on June the 5th, 2025, and as of now, it will cost $450, and there is a bundle where you can get the new Mario Kart that will go for $500. Like I said, that is at least for now, because if you are up to date with the news of the world, there is, of course, economic turmoil globally, and Nintendo delayed the pre-ordering process because of it, and I believe they said they're not going to change the price. I don't know if I necessarily believe that. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, as in terms of the price that was announced, the $450 or the $500 with the bundle, personally, I'm fine with that. Some people are complaining, we'll get into it later, but the price of the games, Nintendo has sort of taken a variable pricing scheme. But Mario Kart specifically is going to cost, I believe, $80 by itself. And people have taken issue with that, which I completely understand. And like I said, I'll talk about that more later. However, for me, I was going to get Mario Kart anyway. And having a $500 bundle that you are technically saving money there, even though they've increased the price, you can decide for yourself if you consider that a savings or not. But yeah, $500, and especially now that we're gonna get into the specs of this thing, they delivered pretty much everything I wanted for a Nintendo Switch 2, and I'm perfectly fine with the price. So this comes from Adam Bankhurst over at IGN. He says, quote, this is just a little info dump here for you. He put it onto a nice single paragraph, so I didn't have to break it down too hard. But he says the Nintendo Switch 2 has a ton of new hardware features and experiences, and it all starts with the console itself that has a 7.9-inch LCD screen that displays games at 1080p. However, those looking for better resolution will be happy to know that the new dock will be able to output video up to 4K resolution and play games at up to 120 frames per second. Ladies and gentlemen, Nintendo has arrived in the year 2025. I I could not believe that this was announced. I did not have any notion that they were going to be able to meet these hardware requirements. 4K resolution, and this is all in docked mode, so I'm not complaining though, because if I can get this display, then I'm going to have it in docked mode anyway. But yeah, 4K resolution, 120 frames. It's also going to have HDR. I don't know if I included that in my notes. I think I forgot that. But yeah, HDR as well. Imagine all those Zelda games with HDR. It's going to be very pretty. But yeah, also we've got 256 whole gigs of internal storage, which is pretty awesome. I don't remember what the original Switch default internal storage was, but I know it wasn't very high and you had to end up, buying an SD card for it. But yeah, so those are the top level technical specs for it. And, I was thrilled with this, right? I can't wait to play all these games in the proper frame rates and proper resolutions. And, I complain a lot about on the show about that kind of stuff, but it really does bother me, right? Like you can call me a snob, you can call me nitpicky, but at the end of the day, it bugs me. I can tell when there are frame rate differences. I can tell when there are resolution issues. It's just one of those things that my eye just picks up on. And I'm very excited to now be getting the best quality stuff. Well, not best quality, it's not like a high-end PC or whatever, but it can match, hopefully, assuming it can actually do all these things, it can match an Xbox or a PS5. So we also have new Joy-Cons. So the biggest thing with the Joy-Cons is you can use them like a computer mouse. Yeah, so you put the flat side where it would normally connect to the console. That is the side you're putting onto your Surface to use as a computer mouse. I thought this was pretty interesting. I'm curious to see how it actually works in practice. How flat of a surface you need and how sensitive if we're just talking like a regular wireless mouse or something, or if it's a little bit more finicky, we'll have to wait and see. Now, there have been a lot of hands-on previews for this ever since the Direct. Lots of content creators, lots of media people that have done hands-on previews with the Switch 2 hardware. And from what I saw, they were testing Metroid Prime 4 with this mouse functionality. And from what I've heard, it seemed to work pretty well. I really think if Nintendo is able to pull this portion of the Switch 2 off, this feature, I think it could be kind of a game changer, honestly, when it comes to how first-person shooters are played on Nintendo consoles. It's now that you've got the graphical power to back it up, and I know at least for me, I'm always getting destroyed by people who play on PC because of that mouse functionality. So I wonder if having something similar could maybe even the playing field. Now, I don't know if the rest of the Joy-Cons are going to be super, built for first-person shooters in terms of trigger placement and stuff like that, but we'll have to wait and see. Definitely something, one of the features of it I'm excited to check out. A feature that I am less excited to check out, but that is just very Nintendo, is the C button. It was much debated what the C button could be for. It turns out it stands for chat. It is a dedicated chat button, and they showed a lot of this in the Direct. It seems like it basically works like Discord for the most part, where you can hit the button and squad up voice chat. There's also video chat, and there was you could superimpose yourself over your gameplay as if you were filming like a Let's Play. There was some cool game integration stuff with it where I believe it was either Mario Party or Mario Kart. You could see the people's real faces in game over their characters. That's kind of fun. It's like something only Nintendo would do, something that like nobody else would even think of. But even if 20% of the player base ends up using it, good for them, good for them for taking creative swings. It's also worth mentioning that this chat service, it's going to be free initially, but eventually it is going to require a Nintendo Online subscription. And there's one more thing I want to mention. I had a really good segue there too. We'll go back to that. Hang on. Here's another quote from Adam Bankhurst about a feature that I wanted to mention. He says, there is also a new feature called Game Share that will let users share a game with friends who don't own a compatible game so they can play together. And I just thought this was pretty cool. If this actually works, if this works as if they just, they describe it here, I think that's a pretty big win, right? I mean, there's always the one friend who doesn't own Mario Kart or doesn't own Smash when you're getting together with all your pals, your chums. And I think this would be a great way to get around that. I'm a huge proponent of the Friends Pass that Hazelight does with all their games, but It Takes Two and Split Fiction, excuse me. I really just, I love that feature, right? And I don't know economically if it's obviously not, because you want people to buy, everybody to buy a copy of your game. But I think just having that feature to share it, if you already own it, I love that. And the more we get that, the better. Anyway, how about that Nintendo Online subscription, huh? Speaking of Nintendo Switch Online, we got some updates for that too. Of course, the biggest being GameCube games will be coming to Nintendo Switch Online. They showed like a carousel of games at the end, but they confirmed and showed gameplay of Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, F-Zero GX, and Soul Calibur 2 will be the first games that are available. I'm pretty excited for this. I haven't really used a lot of the emulation stuff available through Nintendo Switch Online. I'm aware of it, but I don't pay for whatever like the upgraded version is to get the other version, so I don't know if I'm going to have to do that with this, but I definitely want to play these GameCube games, so we'll have to see. I definitely want to play, all the Zeldas that people enjoy, not all of them. I don't feel the need to play all of them. I know there are some bad ones, but like I want to play Twilight Princess is the big one that I want to get to. So I hope they can find a way to get that on this service. And yeah, I know it's Nintendo selling us old stuff again in a shiny new box, but it's fine. It's fine. I don't know. What are you gonna do? They're gonna keep shutting down emulators. This is just how they're gonna do it. I'd rather we be able to do this than not have it at all legally, especially if they come after emulators. So yeah, we're gonna have to see. I know people were bummed it's not the HD remakes of Wind Waker, because apparently that was from the Wii U version, but like nobody talks about that because it was on the Wii U. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? They also showed Super Mario Strikers in this lineup. Very excited, love that game, and I would gladly play it again. I did buy the new Super Mario Strikers, but I didn't really play it. But that's not really the point. I just want to feel young again. So if I buy things again from when I was young, that will then make me young. That is how that works. Anyway, moving on, we have game announcements, and Nintendo, of course, came correct with their first-party game announcements. First off, we led the presentation with Mario Kart World, which, gotta say, banging logo. Love the logo for Mario Kart World. Big fan of that. I just keep obsessing over it. I think it looks great. But yeah, so it looks like with this new Mario Kart, they're going to be taking more of a Forza Horizon approach. Those games, the Forza Horizon games, are like the only racing games I've ever played and actually enjoyed. I don't really have an interest in racing on a track, I like Forza where it's more open world and you're driving through cities or driving through cool environments. I've played Forza, was it 5 and 6? Which one are we on? I play whatever the most recent one is and the one before that. And I love those games. I think they're a lot of fun. And this is as someone who doesn't play racing games. So I just think the Forza games, they take they don't take it super seriously. It's not like a simulator. It's very arcadey. And seeing that open world stuff added into Mario Kart, I think is a great idea. I think it's a great way to expand the gameplay of those games for people like myself that aren't necessarily going to play this with friends all the time because, my friends don't have Switches, at least not all of them. And having more stuff to do in Mario Kart as a single player, I think is a good idea as well. Also, what was it, 24 racers in a race? That's going to be... Sucks to be the guy in 24th place. I don't know what you're going to do there. Even like bottom 12. Like, what are you going to do? Anyway, the next game, this is not in order, by the way. The next game is Donkey Kong Bonanza. Suck it, Mario. It's the year of the monkey. I did want a Odyssey sequel, and this looks like it's kind of going to be it. There are some different mechanics in there. That there's like a Hulk ultimate destruction thing where you can like rip up the ground. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And that like Nintendo thing of having that one or multiple gameplay elements that just really elevate your game, like the hat in Odyssey. This looks like some kind of equivalent where it's going to be like the mechanic that really helps sell this thing. But yeah, Year of the Monkey, Return to Monkey, very excited. Also, we're having a banner years for Donkey Kong here with the Mario movie. He got that redesign that nobody liked, but Donkey Kong is back as a brand. It's a big deal. Buy stock in Donkey Kong. There was a new Kirby game, the Kirby Air Riders, which people were super excited about. I don't know anything about this, but I know Sakurai, who made Smash, stopped to go make more Kirby stuff. So he's back, big deal there. I thought it was Smash at first because that's what it looked like, but then it's Kirby Air Riders 2. I don't know. I'm down. Who doesn't love Kirby, right? So yeah, I'm reading a lot of praise here, but there has been stuff that I mentioned at the beginning of the show, the price of these games. So Nintendo will be taking, I think, a variable pricing stance where not all games are going to cost $80 or $90, but all the first party ones probably will, like Mario Kart and stuff like that. It is a yikes for sure, right? Nobody wants to pay more for things that they already pay a lot of money for, obviously. But I don't know. When I look at this, these companies do not care about you at all. Their goal is to make as much money as possible without losing customers, right? So they're gonna squeeze as much juice out of you as they possibly can. And they know that you're still gonna buy it, most likely, right? The only way that we make any progress with this is if people vote with their wallet. And like, I'm not gonna lie, right? I'm gonna buy all this stuff. I'm gonna buy the new Switch. I'm gonna buy the Switch first party games. And yeah, obviously I don't want to pay $80 for these games, but like, what are you going to do? At the end of the day, if I really wanted to take a stance, I'd have to not participate in this ecosystem or whatever, but I'm so I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. Because at the end of the day, I'm still going to participate in it, and I just, not that there's anything wrong with complaining about it, please get on your soapbox and complain all day long, but Nintendo really doesn't care, right? They're going to do whatever they want. They're going to charge whatever they want. And I don't really see a reason why they wouldn't, because they know that for the most part, you're already guaranteed to sell just fine with whatever they're going to release. So maybe not the most, not a perfect answer, but I'm not an economist. But that's just the way I see it. So we're going to have to see what all these games end up being priced individually, but and that brings us to a whole different discussion of GTA 6. Everybody's like, well, GTA 6 is definitely going to be $100 now. Yeah, probably. And we're all going to pay it. So, and it's going to make $1 trillion. What are you going to do? It's difficult. Like I said, the best way is to vote with your wallet or to speak with your wallet, but I like to play video games, so I'm not going to do that. I already talked about the Kart World logo. Go look it up. It's very cool. We're also getting Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 versions. I'm really hoping these are affordable at least. I know I just got done saying that I'll pay whatever, like a disgusting little pig. But, I would be nice if Nintendo was somewhat reasonable about this and kept it like $20 for these remasters or something. I don't know. I am really excited to play Switch 2 versions of both these Zelda games, so I probably won't play Breath of the Wild because you can just, in my opinion, just play Tears of the Kingdom and it's like the same thing but better. So I'll probably pick that up. I really would love to play these games with these enhanced graphics and frame rate and stuff, so I'm definitely going to at least pick up one of them. They're going to make so much money off this stuff that they're going to charge whatever they want, so we'll see. I'm hoping in the $20 range for these Switch 2 versions, but we're going to have to see. There's a fun little note here from Adam Bankhurst over at IGN about this. This was included in the Zelda stuff in the presentation. Quote, there will also be a new Zelda Notes app on the Nintendo Switch Online app that is exclusive to those new editions and will help players find shrines, Koroks, and other locations alongside commentary from Princess Zelda that wasn't part of the original games. Nintendo being Nintendo, you know what I mean? Like, they're pushing this Nintendo Switch Online app super hard, first of all. I don't know if this already happened, right? No, this was for Smash, I think, where they said they were going to have news every day leading up to the release. But they are pushing this Nintendo Switch Online app extremely hard. And, hey, if the lady who voices Zelda got paid extra time to do all these lines, good for her. I don't know if I'm going to use this app. I feel like the days of app video game tie-ins are kind of behind us, but Nintendo doesn't know that. So we also got more Metroid Prime 4. It's going to have performance mode on the Switch 2. I am very excited for that game. I really need to finish Metroid Prime Remastered. I played only a couple hours of that, but I really enjoyed what I did play. And I really felt that game was timeless. Yeah, I know it was a remaster, so it looked very pretty, but like, I don't know. I thought it still held up very well. I just want to, before I move on to the next thing here, I just want to talk about the frame rates. I'm going to skip this part. I already talked about the frame rates. I'm excited. I'm excited. It's fine. Moving on to for me, the biggest announcement of the Direct, the most crazy announcement that caught me the most off guard. And this was the announcement of From Software's next game, The Dusk Bloods, which is going to be coming exclusively to Nintendo Switch 2 in 2026. Yeah, this one blew me away. I think it blew most people away. The trailer starts and you think it's Bloodborne 2 and everyone's losing their minds. You get the From Software logo, everybody loses their minds even more. Then you think maybe it's Castlevania because it kind of looks like Castlevania. But it's not. It's a new IP from Software, and it's going to be. It ends. The trailer ends, by the way, with a it's exclusive to Switch 2, which is crazy. I just love this. Is such a big swing from Nintendo, right? Especially at Sony, not having a Bloodborne sequel. This looks like the next best thing, and it's going to really prove, or I guess they hope to prove, that the Switch is the next big thing, and here's where you can play your premier games on Nintendo Switch 2. You know. I'm a very casual From Software fan. I've talked about that before, but I really was interested in the style of this game. I thought it looked great. It looks kind of like steampunky, maybe. I've heard after the fact that it might be some kind of PvP, PvE thing, which I don't love. I would really much rather have like a whole new world to explore, a much more single player focused experience. Because I mean, you know, these From Software nerds are going to be dripping if it's a PvP thing. We're going to have to wait and see more, but I am excited. You know, I'm looking forward to seeing more of this game for sure. There's one more thing I wanted to mention here. I almost died and came back to life when they teased the 007 game. I was like, is this it? Are we going to really make this the best presentation ever and show gameplay of this? They didn't even show a trailer. It was just the spinny gun barrel with the logo. So still nothing, but they got me for a second there. They had me good. Anyway, that's all I got on the Switch 2 so far. I'm sure there's a ton of stuff I missed, but I talked about the stuff that I wanted to highlight. Now for this next part of the show, we are going to do something a little bit fun, and it mostly comes out of my own laziness. But I left my notes exactly how they were for the Lost episode, so we're going to figure this out as we go along. But we're going to kick things off by talking about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. So I've got probably maybe around 20 hours in this game so far, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm especially enjoying it. I was stuck for a while in the game trying to find your dog companion, because you can find a dog, and I got like obsessed with it. I spent hours and hours trying to do it, and I think my quest was bugged, honestly, because I looked up a bunch of different guides, and there was this portion of the quest that I was waiting to happen, and I just kept running around in this one area over and over again, and nothing ever happened. So the good news is I was able to figure out that you can just skip to the end of the quest. So I just did that, and now I have a dog, and it's awesome. And I'm so back into this game now that I've gotten past this roadblock. The game is really something special. It's huge. There's so much to do. Your main character, Henry, is just a really nice, he's a nice guy if you play him like a nice guy, but he's a very relatable guy. I don't know the guy who voices him, but the performance is just very down to earth, I think, and very grounded. And the game has a sense of humor that also feels very real. Like it feels like real people talking, or, you know, real quirky people having dialogue almost. And, there was an example. I'll give you an example rather. There was a side quest where I found this Romani camp, right? And they all speak a different language. Or they initially speak a different language, but they end up speaking, I don't think it's actually English, because it's set in the Eastern Europe. I don't know, whatever language Henry speaks, they start speaking it, and then you can end up befriending them, and they teach you some of their language, and you share drinks with them, and it's just I don't know, it was kind of a wholesome message of bonding with these people that you don't know. And a lot of times when you get historical dramas and stuff, they'll either whitewash it so that everything seems perfect in history, or everything sucks, to go the other way. But I feel like in this game anyway, they do a very good job of depicting it of it doesn't have to suck. You can relate to these people other ways, right? You can share a beer with them and connect that way and share stories and stuff like that. I don't know. It warmed my cold, dead heart. I'll tell you what. The game has sim elements to it. You have to drink this special liquor to save, which is super annoying, but I found out you can just save and quit and then reload to save. So pro strat, if you're out there and you don't want to make the savior schnapps or whatever the hell it's called, you can just quit and load back in. And if you're on something with a solid state drive, it's going to load real fast, so you don't have to worry about it. What else we got here? the game there's realistic aspects of the game that were carried over from the first game that I didn't really like the first game very much. I tried it a bunch of times, but there was too much sim stuff going on, and it was a little too difficult, quite frankly, for me to get into. I didn't know what was going on. But Kingdom Come 2, I think it retains the sim elements, but it does make it a lot more accessible from a gameplay perspective. Like the combat especially, I found to be a lot easier to understand in this than in the first game. It still has like the For Honor where you're picking which direction you're guarding or hitting or whatever. But it's just easier to understand in this one. I get the feeling I'm missing a lot in this game. This world seems very expansive and there's, hidden stuff in every nook and cranny, but I just find myself walking through the woods in this game, or like you can like pick herbs to make more alchemy stuff, or increase your blacksmith ability by blacksmithing. Oh, that is one thing I wanted to highlight was the leveling system. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it's very engaging for how you want to build your character. It's like Skyrim, where the more you do something, the more you level up that skill. However, when you level up that skill, you're able to open it up and pick a perk. Also like Skyrim, now that I'm thinking about it. But the perks are pretty, I find them to be pretty distinct, right? It's not like you're getting, I'm selecting this and I'm getting, 1% more damage with swords. There are some that are like that, where it's like 10% more damage with swords or whatever. But a lot of them are like, I'm trying to think of an example. It's like if you're being surrounded by enemies, if you're fighting 3 or more opponents, you get stat bonuses, or like more practical things, not necessarily stat based, but more practical things in gameplay of like, I really should have wrote down an example, but trust me, there's more practical skills you can get that feel more like almost like you're leveling up a D&D character, where you're picking a feat and it's like, okay, well, this feat is going to change how I play my character, stuff like that. And there's also a lot of categories that you're leveling up, so you really feel like you can kind of get in the nitty gritty of how you want to build Henry out and how you want some of these abilities to maybe overlap if you can. What else we got? Did I mention I got a dog now in game? I have a dog in real life too, but in the game I got a dog. That's a lot of fun. You can like command him to do. He can like track stuff, and you can you can feed him. It's fun. I like having a dog. And it helps with quests too, because the whole reason I went and skipped to the end of that quest in the first place was because I was doing a different side quest where I had to find this missing girl, and you like find a bunch of blood, and Henry says out loud, he's like, well, if only I had Mutt here. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess I gotta go get the dog. So it can affect how you progress through quests and stuff too, which is pretty cool. Cause I don't know how I would have figured that out if I didn't have the dog. I guess I could have just followed the trail of blood or whatever, but it was a lot cooler making the dog do it. What else? Oh yeah, another thing about how it reminds me of Skyrim, just wandering this world and finding stuff. I mean, you can find camps on the side of the road. You can find all kinds of stuff. Lots of historical artifacts. There's lots of like historical stuff in here that I'm not like 100% on like how like accurate it is, because I don't know anything about this time period or this area. But if you're into that, and hey, maybe this will do something for you. The game is very funny. I just want to hit on that again. There's like laugh out loud moments, but not like Borderlands where it's like just terrible humor. It's like actually funny. It's like wacky. There's some slapstick humor. Again, Henry's just a very relatable character. He's a great protagonist. And I just, I'm excited to play more of this game. I'm excited to see where I actually don't know what's happening in the story, because I started the main quest and then found all these side quests, and I've been doing side quests ever since. So I'll have to get back into that. But I'm just loving living in this world. And if you're into games like Skyrim, if you're into medieval history, I guess, I would definitely recommend checking this out. There's a very cinematic intro that kind of helped me sort of ground myself in the game and be like, okay, this is how this game works. And it's a tutorial, but it's also like a very good intro. It kind of blends tutorial and intro, where it's not just straight, learning the controls. It does kind of both. And I was very appreciative of that, because I've started the first game multiple times and was never able to get past the intro on that. So, but yeah, if you should go check out Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. All right. So skipping ahead, because this next section is about Avowed. And I wrote a lot here, so I don't feel like going through that again, to be honest. I haven't played Avowed since I did that review, so I don't know, maybe it's not worth hitting on again. You know what I mean? Okay, so we're gonna keep it quick here on Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza, because I have kind of stalled on that game as well. So I continue to be the least qualified person in the world to talk about the Like a Dragon series, but I just keep playing these games because I think they're fun. I don't. So the concept of the game is you're one of the characters from the series named Majima, and he has amnesia, so he washes up on shore in Hawaii, and you become a pirate. And it's supposed to bridge the gap between the mainline Yakuza games. I don't know who Majima is. I've seen him. You know, he's a very recognizable character. He's the guy from Yakuza with an eye patch. He looks cool. And he's also voiced by Matt Mercer in the English track, which is very nice. I like that. He does sometimes, Matt Mercer sometimes does slip into that McCree voice, but I don't care. I like that voice. I'm listening with the English subtitles, and I kept the English voices on, especially once I realized it was Matt Mercer because I like him. So I was like, oh, I can get a whole game with him voicing the main character. That's pretty cool. I don't really know what the plot is. You know me, and not really big on paying attention. You got a great cast of characters, though. You know, you got. I wrote about that later. Hang on. Blah blah blah. All right, we'll come back to the characters. The combat is the main reason I played this game because I downloaded the demo and I was like, wow, this is a lot of fun. It goes back to the beat 'em up Yakuza style, not the turn-based stuff that we've been seeing in some of the other games. But they almost go for like a Dynasty Warriors things where as the game progresses, you're fighting more and more enemies. So like now I'm up to fighting like, I don't know, like 20, 30 dudes at a time. You do these big pirate crew battles where it's like 30v30, which is fun, especially because you can unlock more abilities and more takedowns and stuff. And if you've played a beat 'em up Yakuza game, you know there's heat takedowns, and those continue to be just the sickest things in the world. There's a lot of cool pirate themed takedowns. You know, I just wrote a note here that just says also pirates. If you like pirates, you'll like this game. It's like there's elements of Black Flag in it in terms of ship combat, but because it's a Yakuza game, you can drift your pirate ship because it's cool, right? Or like, why not? Let's see. In the beginning of the game, you like try to kidnap a kid, which is kind of weird, but he ends up joining your crew, so it's fine. There's a really awesome musical number in the beginning of the game that comes out of nowhere and made me feel like I was experiencing symptoms of a gas leak. Let's see. Oh, here's a part about the characters. So the kid is named Noah. He's like your little wide-eyed kid sidekick, you know. There's Jason, who's Noah's dad, and he's a former adventurer. He's very grumpy for the most part, but then he joins the crew eventually once you get done trying to kidnap his son. He's like, fine, you can kidnap my son, but I gotta come with you. He's got these cool armbands on, like Wonder Woman, which is cool. He fights with those. There's Masaru, who's a chef bodyguard guy. He's cool. He's got like a big cleaver. There's Goro, who's your cat sidekick. He's cool too. He gives you stuff and you can make him wear little outfits, which who doesn't love that? There's a lady who I just got in my crew. I don't know her name. I apologize. Again, I don't really pay attention. I already talked about the combat. It's a lot of fun. Like every other Yakuza game, there's all kinds of side content. There's mini games. I'm in the process of like filling out a zoo because you can find all these animals. I've got a couple cats, a chicken, so I'm curious to see what else I can get in there. Let's see. Oh yeah, one of the things, this is just like a stream of conscious thing I had here. I would like one of my dream for this show would to make it be like a live radio show, but also while playing a game, you know, streaming, stuff like that. And I would love to play through all these Yakuza games, you know, Yakuza, Metal Gear, all these big franchises, you know, I would love to play through them and experience them with an audience. I think that could be a lot of fun. But it's up to you to make me famous. So get out there. Anyway, let's see. More about how I didn't get the plot. I'm just repeating myself in these notes at this point. Yeah. Go if you like pirate games, I would say go play this. Again, the plot is kind of all over the place because it connects to other Yakuza games that I haven't finished or played. But the combat is a standout. So if you just like fun beat 'em up gameplay, then I would say go check this out. Go check it out. It's a good just sit back and maybe turn your brain off and just enjoy all the wacky Yakuza stuff you can play. I think that's all I got. I think that's all I got for this episode of No Credits Rolled. I think we're glad we're back. We covered the Switch 2. We covered some games. I kind of had to make good on the lost episode games that I didn't review, but I gave the truncated version of that. So I think we're good. I think that's going to wrap up episode 22. Should we call it 22.5, 22? I don't know. Episode 22 of No Credits Rolled. Thank you so much for listening. You can always email your questions to nocreditsrolled@gmail.com. And of course, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Wherever you get your audio, we'll be there for you. But that is all I got. I will see you next time on No Credits Roll.